Hello everybody, welcome to Penguin TV. Penguin TV is brought to you by mtgotraders.com and is hosted by puremtgo.com. If you have any online card needs, please visit these two sites, Very Fair Bots and Store. And yeah, so today we are looking at a different build of Workshop. I've been kicking around with this deck for a couple of weeks, and I know that the last time I posted a Workshop deck, I got flamed pretty hard on YouTube. The pure MTGO audience seemed to enjoy it. But I just want to point out that, one, I am not a master deck builder, I am not a master player. I consider myself a little bit above average in both aspects, but I'm obviously going to do things wrong. And the other thing is that for a lot of these videos, I've only played the deck a handful of matches before I take it into an event. And I'm bound to make mistakes. So for that I apologize if that really offends people, but it's going to happen from time to time. So let's get into it. We've got Workshop. And Workshop starts off with the ubiquitous card, Mishra's Workshop. Get 3 mana. You can only use it to play artifacts, and you can't use it to activate artifacts, but we are fine since our entire deck is all artifacts. All permanents. So we've got 4 workshops. We've got 4 Ancient Tomb, which is the next best land. Well, the next best unrestricted land. Gives us 2 for 2 damage. 3 City of Traders. This is one of my least favorite cards in the deck, but it's needed, especially in this build, and we'll get to why this build over other builds needs it more. And then we've got Tolarian Academy, which is fantastic when it says tap for each non-land permanent you control. This deck is running an 8 mana destruction package. We've got Strip Mine, 4 Wastelands, and Ghost Quarters, 3 of them. Ghost Quarter could be a 4th, and it might be better to take out, like, say, City of Traders for it. But so far, 3 has been pretty good. I've never really been like, oh man, I wish I could top deck a Ghost Quarter. No. So yeah, and then we've got 3 Crucible Worlds. Well, I'm going to say a soft 3. There's a card from New Phyrexia that will give us more copies, and that's Metamorph, which we'll get to later. But this is I guess this is plan B in the deck, is just wasteland them out of the game, lock them up, and then win at your leisure. We've got our 13 spheres. Again, we're going to say soft 13 because we've got this guy, which makes him 17. So we've got 13 spheres. Lodestone Golem is not only a sphere, but a win condition, which completely transformed the way the deck played when it was released last year. The Thorns, which are kind of weak in the Fish matchup, and the Spheres, and Trinisphere. Rounding out the win cons, we've got a playset of Wormcoil Engine. We're not playing Steel Hellkite, and there's a reason for it. Wormcoil is the next best card after Steel Hellkite that I could think to put in here. We have 4 Mishra's Factories. They are definitely land, but they're also, I've won games with them. And then we've got these guys, the 4 Metamorphs. This is the reason that I built the deck that you see before you. Metamorph can come down for 3 mana and copy a Thorn of Amethyst, because it's a creature while it's on the stack. So it only costs 3 and 2 life to play it. So you can copy a Thorn. You can copy a Lodestone Golem for 3 and 2 life. You can copy a Sphere of Resistance for 4 and 2 life, but then you're getting an extra sphere. You can copy your Mishra's Factories once you've activated them. You can copy Wormcoil Engine if you're going for the kill. You can copy Revoker and get a new permanent. You can copy Oath of Druids creatures and either remove them from the game or have a clone of it. And I mean, you can clone anything in the mirror too. If they play a Hellkite, you have a Hellkite. This card is really good. We've got 4 Revokers. When I clicked on it, it sent one away, but there are 4. And this card, more so than anything else, will be hitting Metalworker, Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, Time Vault. And then, if you happen to have a Null Rod on the table, then you start to name things like Qasali Pride Mage, Noble Hierarch, Jace the Mind Sculptor. So, I really like the Revokers. Not only are they a win condition, but they also are disruption, and I feel like this deck has a lot of disruption in between the 4 Revokers, the Null Rods, the 8 Wastelands, and then the Spheres. I feel like this deck, while it might be a little slower than the other workshop decks, is a little bit more brutal. We've got Chalice of the Void to turn off 1-drops, primarily. If you can get the mana fast enough, it turns off 2-drops for Oath of Druids and Fish decks. But primarily it's 1-drops. And then we've got Null Rod, which is the other reason I wanted to build this deck. I felt like the inclusion of Phyrexian Metamorph gave the deck enough redundancy that it could play Null Rod instead of Metalworkers. And as we've seen in the last few daily events that have fired, every single workshop deck is playing 4 times Metalworker. And almost all of them are playing Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, and Mana Vault. And then on top of that, every single blue deck is playing almost all 4 Lotus Petals, and then Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, Mana Vault. On top of the popularity of the blue Tezzeret decks that are now running Tezzerets, or Grim Monoliths, and then Time Vault and Voltaic Key on top of all of those artifact manas. And one of the things I've always noticed with workshops, whenever I build blue decks, I build my deck against workshops so that I either have redundancy in basic lands or redundancy in artifact mana, so that I can power out before a Sphere and then resolve a game-winning bomb with my artifact mana. And I thought to myself, if I can restrict their mana base with my 8 Wastelands and Crucible, why not restrict their Lotus Petals and then just stop them from winning the game? In testing, the deck has played out very well. This is recorded after the rounds I played. I sadly did not get into a daily event, but I did play against a 1-man and a 2-man queue, and then a couple of pickup games with the community, picking decks that I thought might be a good challenge to show. So that's the main deck, and the reasoning behind the cards, other than the fact that if you're going to play workshops, you play 13 Spheres. 24 lands, also because there's no Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, Mana Vault, and or Metalworker. So we are a little bit slower, but as I said, I feel like we tighten the noose a lot better than other workshop decks. And then for the sideboard, I have 4 Leylines, 2 Relics, and 2 Tormod's Crypts. After playing this deck a couple of times, though, I think I want to cut the 2 Relic of Progenituses based solely on the percentage of people who play Dredge in the events. Not because I think the matchup is good. I think I actually would want more Dredge hate to make the matchup favorable. But I like to play the lottery. And Oath of Druids is far more prevalent than Dredge in the money events. So if I were going to run this in a tournament, I believe that these 2 Relic of Progenituses would either be Eon Hub, which I hate. So if it were me, I would pick Karn Liberated to play in this spot. Some people would play Eon Hub, and I mean, I guess I can't fault you, but I won't play it. So that's the Dredge, and this would become more Oath Hate. We've got 2 Razormane Masticores, which are awesome against Fish. And after playing a bunch of games in practice and then the first round in the 2-man queue, I think that I would like to cut a Sculpting Steel for the 3rd Razormane Masticore. because it's just so important in that fish matchup. He single-handedly won me my games. There's 3 sculpting steels, primarily for the mirror. It gives us 7 clones for their targets. Generally, when we play against the mirror, we sideboard out our spheres and our chalices. So we have the room, and usually we bring in Razormane Masticores and Duplicants. But if these are Karn Liberateds, that would be good in the mirror as well. So I could see cutting this for a Razormane Masticore, and possibly cutting this for another Duplicant. And then I think I might keep the last Sculpting Steel because it has turned out to be really, really good in the games I played, and I wouldn't mind having it as a one-of. But yeah, I could see this becoming a Duplicant, I could see this becoming a Razormane Masticore, and I can see this becoming 2 Karn Liberateds. And if the card proved to be better than advertised, I could see it becoming a 3rd Karn Liberated. But that's the deck, and I will see you guys for the rounds. Alright.